Do not tell them what you are about to do. Do not send the message. Do not explain the plan. Do not give one more person access to what is still being formed. God is not angry with you. He is protecting you. You have already noticed the pattern. You receive clarity in private. Something inside you becomes still. For a few hours, or perhaps a few days, you know exactly what your next move should be. Then you speak, and the peace begins to change. You tell someone because you feel excited. You tell them because you trust them. Sometimes you need another person to say that your plan makes sense. But their question becomes your question, and their hesitation quietly enters the place where certainty was growing. Their fear starts sounding like your own voice. Your body becomes tense. Your mind checks every detail again. Nothing outside you has changed, yet everything inside you feels divided. That is the pattern this warning has come to interrupt. Chosen one, the discomfort after those conversations was not random. The sudden doubt was not proof that your direction was wrong. The loss of momentum was not evidence that the door had closed. You exposed something before it had roots strong enough to survive public reaction. Some beginnings weaken when they are handled too soon. A seed does not need an audience. It needs darkness, patience, and time. You do not dig it up each evening to prove it is growing, because constant exposure would damage the process you are trying to protect. God is not asking you to become suspicious. He is not saying everyone around you is against you. He is asking you to stop placing sacred beginnings into hands that were never assigned to hold them. Love does not always equal capacity. You will learn why plans lose power when spoken too soon. You will recognize who should not receive early access. You will learn how to become quiet without fear. There is something deeper beneath this warning. The issue is not only who has been listening. The real issue is what happens inside your mind after too many voices enter it, because a divided receiver can confuse anxiety with urgency. You keep asking for another sign. You replay every conversation. You search for one more opinion that will restore the certainty you had before. But more voices cannot heal the confusion that too many voices helped create. Here is your first breakthrough. The calling did not disappear. The clarity did not abandon you. Your attention became scattered, and your conviction was forced to compete with reactions that never belonged inside the decision. Your clarity can return. Stop collecting more opinions. Stop reopening the same conversation. Stop trying to make everyone understand what you have not fully built. Silence is not emptiness. It is the space where your mind can become whole again. Write this in the comments. I will protect what God is building. Do not write it for me. Remember this decision when someone asks about your plans. Your silence is not punishment. It is protection. It is concentration. It is a shelter around something still becoming strong enough to stand in the light. But keeping the plan private is only the first layer. There are 3 things you must stop revealing now. The third is often mistaken for honesty, although it can turn temporary fear into a permanent identity. That is where we are going next. The first trap has a name. It is the premature exposure trap. It begins when something new enters your life, and you turn it into a public conversation before it becomes a private conviction. Then other people begin shaping it. It means timing matters. A beginning can be real and still be fragile. A direction can be right and still need protection, because truth often needs space before it can carry outside opinion. The first thing you must stop sharing is a plan without structure. An early idea is not a finished instruction. It may be only the first signal. When you explain it too soon, you defend details that you do not fully understand. Talking also creates the feeling of movement. You describe the future so clearly that your mind feels rewarded before your hands build anything. The real work remains untouched. Keep the early plan close. Write it down. Test one small step. Let action reveal what discussion cannot. Some answers only appear after your feet start moving. The second thing you must stop sharing is private confirmation. Some moments in prayer carry meaning for you alone. Some quiet realizations are not meant for debate. When you use a sacred moment to convince someone, the experience changes. What felt clear becomes something you must prove. Their disbelief enters the memory, and you begin questioning what once brought peace. Not every sign needs an audience. The third thing is the most dangerous. Stop handing every weakness in your plan to people who cannot hold uncertainty. A temporary fear is not your identity. A question is not a prophecy. A difficult day is not proof that the direction is wrong. You may call this honesty, but sometimes it is emotional leakage. You are sharing because you want someone to remove discomfort that only action, patience, and time can resolve. The wrong person may name your fear for you. They may call caution failure. They may call uncertainty a warning. They may take one weak moment and build a complete story about who you are. Remember this contrast. You are not hiding because you are ashamed. You are protecting something because it is developing. You are refusing to give voting power to people who will not carry responsibility for the result. Chosen one. Privacy is not deception. Silence is not dishonesty. You can be sincere without giving everyone complete access. You can love people without granting complete access. There is a deeper reason this matters. A person can have strong intuition and still live inside mental fog. A person can pray faithfully and still struggle to separate a clear signal from accumulated noise after too many opinions enter the mind. Researchers have studied how different systems of the brain process information. One side may organize language and analysis, while another may contribute pattern and intuitive recognition. Clarity can weaken when those processes feel disconnected. An 8-minute daily method was designed around helping those systems work in greater coordination. It does not replace prayer, rest, judgment, or action, but it raises an important question. What if God has not stopped speaking, and the real problem is that too many parts of your mind are trying to answer at once? Before we return to that discovery, you must identify who received access too early. There are 3 kinds of people to recognize. The third may surprise you, because that person may be living inside you. The first person may love you. They may want you safe, but their advice can still come from fear, because people often measure your future by the pain they survived. They remember what failed for them. So when you describe a bold step, they do not see your calling first. They see the wound their own life taught them to avoid. This does not make them evil. It makes them limited. Their love may be sincere, while their capacity remains small. You only need to stop asking fear to confirm a direction that requires courage. The second person needs you to remain who you were. They know the version who explains everything, asks permission, and changes direction when others become uncomfortable. Your growth changes the agreement they enjoyed. When you become private, they may call you distant. When you set a boundary, they may call you selfish. When you stop explaining, they may say you have changed. Sometimes, they are reacting to losing influence. You are allowed to change. You can become less predictable. You are allowed to stop performing the old role that kept everyone comfortable when that role disconnected you from your direction. The third person is the one most people miss. It is the insecure version of you. This part does not speak from necessity. It speaks because silence creates discomfort, and discomfort makes it desperate for reassurance. Every new opinion becomes another vote. Soon your calling must win approval from a council that God never gathered. You are managing everyone who heard about it. That is why access is not assignment. Someone may know you well and still have no role in this decision. Closeness does not guarantee the capacity to carry an unfinished vision. Before you share anything important, ask 3 questions. Does this person carry responsibility for the outcome? Can they hold uncertainty without projecting fear? Am I sharing from clarity, or am I searching for confirmation? The third question exposes it. If you need their face to relax before you trust yourself, do not speak yet. If you need approval before you act, return to silence. Your vision does not need a vote. Write this in the comments. My vision does not need a vote. Let those words become a boundary inside you. Imagine a different day. You receive a clear idea, and you do not send 5 messages. You write it down. You sleep before deciding. Then you take one small step in private, while the energy remains untouched by reactions you never needed. You finish the first page. You make the first call. Nothing is announced, yet something real exists. Your confidence no longer depends on describing the future, because your hands have started building it. Internal authority grows this way. It grows when you keep a promise that nobody applauds. It grows when you act without demanding witnesses. It grows when your peace survives another person's confusion. But even after you stop sharing the plan, another leak may remain. It appears when someone asks a simple question, and you answer with a long defense. You explain every reason because you want to control how they see you. That habit feels like communication, but it is often fear wearing polite language. You are asking the listener to release you from guilt, misunderstanding, or rejection. That is the next pattern we must break. Silence is not complete while you believe every boundary requires a speech. You can protect the plan and still lose strength by explaining why you deserve to protect it. Next, you must learn to stop explaining yourself. You do not need a long explanation every time you protect yourself. A clear answer can be complete. A boundary can be kind. Silence can remain honest, even when another person does not receive every detail they want. Over-explaining often begins with fear. You say enough, then add another reason. You notice their face, and you keep talking. Soon, you are no longer sharing information. You are trying to control how they understand you. That is the hidden cost. You believe the perfect sentence can prevent disappointment, but some people do not misunderstand because your words are unclear. They misunderstand because your choice no longer serves their comfort. Communication gives necessary information. Over-explanation asks for permission. Communication respects both people. Over-explanation keeps speaking until the listener removes your guilt. Watch what happens in your body. Your voice becomes faster. Your message becomes longer. You add history that nobody requested, because part of you believes your boundary must be proven before it can be respected. It does not. You can say, I am still working through it. You can say, I will share when it is complete. You can say, I appreciate your concern, but I have made my decision. You can say, there is nothing more I need to add right now. These words are not cold, they are clean. They do not attack the listener, and they do not abandon your authority. They leave enough space for the decision to remain yours. You may worry that privacy is dishonest. It is not. Deception creates a false picture. Privacy simply limits access. You can tell the truth without sharing every detail. Chosen one, you are not responsible for managing every interpretation. You are responsible for speaking truthfully and refusing to turn your private process into a public trial. The need to explain often comes from an older wound. Maybe peace once depended on keeping everyone calm. But that skill has become a cage. It makes every no feel dangerous. It keeps your attention fixed on other people's reactions, while your own clarity waits quietly in the background. Release that job. You do not have to make every person comfortable with your growth. You do not need to present evidence before choosing rest, distance, focus, or a new direction. Say less, then observe. The people who respect you will adjust. The people who depended on your explanations may push harder. Their pressure reveals why the boundary was needed. This is where silence becomes strength. Not angry silence, not punishment. It is calm restraint, and it protects energy that used to disappear inside endless defense. Ask yourself one question before adding another sentence. Am I giving useful information, or am I begging to be understood? If the answer is the second, stop, breathe. Let the first clear sentence stand. Guilt may appear, but guilt is not always guidance. Sometimes it is only the old pattern losing control. There is still a deeper problem. Even when the room becomes quiet, your mind may continue every unfinished conversation. You may hear objections, prepare imaginary replies, and search for certainty inside an internal crowd. External silence alone is not enough. You must understand the divided receiver, because a quiet mouth can still belong to a mind filled with competing voices. A silent mouth does not always mean a quiet mind. You can stop speaking and still replay every conversation. You can sit alone while 10 different voices argue inside you. This is the divided receiver. The divided receiver has too many reference points. One person says wait, another says move, a memory says you will fail, a fear says you must decide now. The signal becomes harder to recognize because every voice demands equal attention. This creates familiar symptoms. You rethink the same decision from every angle. You change direction after each conversation. You ask for another sign, even though you have not acted on the last one, chosen one. This does not mean you lack faith. It does not mean you are lazy. It does not prove that God stopped guiding you. It may mean your mind has been carrying too many competing inputs for too long. The brain processes information through systems that contribute different strengths. Language and analysis help organize facts. Pattern recognition and intuition help you notice meaning. Clarity becomes harder when those systems do not feel coordinated. Research connected with split brain studies helped reveal how different sides of the brain can process experience in distinct ways. Dr. Roger Sperry received the Nobel Prize in 1981 for discoveries related to this field. The product material describes a state called whole brain activation. It presents this as greater cooperation between the two hemispheres, where analytical thinking and intuitive recognition can support each other instead of competing. Science cannot certify a spiritual message, but this idea helps explain why a tired mind may struggle to separate signal from noise. Here is the breakthrough. The command to remain silent is not only about keeping other people's voices out, it is about giving your own mind enough quiet to become whole again. Try this before an important decision. Give yourself 24 hours without new opinions. Do not ask another person. Do not search for another video. Do not reopen the same argument. Write one sentence that names the decision. Then separate what you know from what you fear. Facts belong in one column. Predictions belong in another. Keep them apart. Next, choose one small action that can be reversed. Send the draft to yourself. Research one requirement. Prepare one page. Let movement produce information that discussion cannot provide. Observe what becomes clearer after action. A strong feeling can still be fear. Clarity often feels simpler, quieter, and less desperate. This is how the receiver begins to settle. Fewer voices enter. Facts return to their proper place. Fear loses the power to impersonate instruction, but understanding the divided receiver is not the same as restoring it. Knowing why the noise exists does not automatically create coordination. That missing piece is where the earlier discovery becomes important. There is a reason we did not name the method immediately. A solution has no meaning until you recognize the pattern it was designed to address. Now you have seen the pattern clearly. You have seen premature exposure. You have seen approval seeking. You have seen over-explanation. You have seen a mind searching for certainty through more input, while every new input creates more confusion. The question is no longer whether silence matters. The question is whether you can support the receiver while silence does its work. That is where we are going next. Why can you understand this message today, then repeat the same pattern tomorrow? Why can you know that silence is necessary, yet still feel desperate for one more conversation? Because insight alone does not always change the state producing the behavior. You can understand the noise without restoring the receiver. You can name the pattern without interrupting it. Knowledge matters, but knowledge must reach the part of you that chooses under pressure. Return to the earlier question. What if God has not stopped speaking and too many parts of your mind are trying to answer at once? Now the pattern is visible. You feel uncertain, so you ask for reassurance. Reassurance brings another opinion. Another opinion divides your attention. Divided attention creates more uncertainty, and the cycle begins again. The problem is not always missing information. Sometimes the problem is that your mind has no quiet place where information can settle. Silence stops new input. Boundaries protect that silence. But some people also need a simple practice that helps the mind shift from scattered attention toward greater coordination. The product material describes this through whole brain activation. It presents the goal as helping analytical thinking and intuitive recognition work together with less internal conflict. That does not replace prayer. It does not replace rest. It does not replace careful judgment, professional care, or responsible action. It is presented as support for the state in which those things can be used more clearly. You are not broken. You may simply be overloaded. You need fewer voices, clearer facts, and enough quiet to notice what remains when panic stops speaking. Here is the reason the earlier method matters. It was designed around a short daily protocol, not a complicated ritual. The purpose is not to give you a new belief. The purpose is to support greater coordination inside the receiver. A tool cannot decide for you. It cannot replace testing, observation, or responsibility. It may only help create a better condition for that work. No magical promise. No claim that 8 minutes will solve every problem. You now know why the signal became difficult to hear. But understanding the noise is not the same as restoring the receiver. That is why the next section will finally return to the discovery from the research room. You will hear what the method is, how it is used, what the product material claims, and where its limits must remain clear. Remember what has changed. You stopped treating every question as a command to speak. You stopped treating every opinion as a vote. Now you are ready to examine a possible support tool from clarity instead of desperation. That difference matters because a pressured decision would repeat the same pattern this message came to break. It is careful evaluation. Listen to the mechanism. Review the evidence presented. Notice the limits. Then decide, without fear, urgency, or borrowed certainty. Now we can return to the discovery waiting. I delayed this moment because a solution only matters when you understand the problem it was designed to address. You now know the problem. It is a divided receiver, crowded by fear, opinion, and mental noise. This discovery begins with Dr. Roger Sperry. He received the Nobel Prize in 1981 for research involving divided brain functions. His work helped show that the two hemispheres can process experience in complementary ways. One side may support language and analysis. The other may contribute pattern and intuitive recognition. The product material describes cooperation between these systems as whole brain activation, where logic and intuition can support each other with less internal conflict. This does not prove every spiritual feeling is true. It offers one explanation for why someone can pray, reflect, and still struggle to recognize a clear next step. The material shares the story of a woman from California. She had tried prayer, journaling, and meditation, but still felt disconnected from what she believed. According to her report, the protocol helped her feel that her inner channel became clearer. It also describes a man from Texas who had lived with mental fog for so long that he considered it normal. According to the material, he reported greater clarity and easier decisions. These are personal reports, not guaranteed outcomes. The tool is called the Genius Switch. It is a digital audio track connected to Dr. Daniel Barone, a neurologist in New York City. It uses what the creators call neural sync technology through a targeted auditory sequence lasting 8 minutes. The routine is simple. Put on headphones, close your eyes, relax, listen once each day. The material says no complicated ritual is required. It is not presented as a meditation application. It is not presented as a track that only changes mood. It is designed around hemisphere synchronization and the state described as whole brain activation. This is not for everyone. It is for the chosen one who senses a larger direction but keeps operating through mental fog. It is for the person who has done spiritual work, yet struggles to turn insight into action. It is for someone willing to give 8 quiet minutes each day to a practice that may support focus while continuing to use judgment and responsibility. Now, consider the cost structure in the product material. In-person neurofeedback may cost around $300 for 1 hour. A home system may cost around $7,000. Those options are not realistic for many people. The creators anchor its value at $500. The listed price is $49. The offer page presents an additional reduction to $39. That page also describes a full money-back guarantee even after the track has been used. Read the current terms on the official page before deciding, because price and conditions may change. The purchase includes 4 bonuses. 1 is a guided visualization connected with the Calm application. Another is a grocery guide with shopping shortcuts, advertised as helping some households save more than $100 each month. The third is a manifestation book described as more than 100 years old. The fourth is a printable infographic about 5 habits. These bonuses are not the main mechanism. You may have tried meditation or other audio tools. The difference presented here is the focus on neural sync technology and whole brain activation. You may feel that $39 is still real money. It is. Compare the offer with more expensive options, read the guarantee, and decide from clarity. Do not spend from pressure. You may wonder whether 8 minutes sounds too simple. 8 minutes is only the length of the daily protocol. It is not a promise that every problem disappears, and results can differ. You still need boundaries, rest, prayer, reflection, and responsible action. A support tool cannot build the life you keep announcing but never begin. The real cost of waiting is not a fake deadline. It is repeating the cycle. You receive insight, share it too early, absorb more noise, delay the action, then ask for another sign. The material says the current price may increase. Verify the offer on the official website. Use only the link in the description or pinned comment, because similar versions elsewhere may not contain the same protocol. Read the official page carefully. Review the guarantee. Examine the claims and limits. Then decide from clarity rather than pressure. This tool cannot keep your mouth closed for you. It cannot create a boundary. It cannot replace prayer, rest, medical care, or courage. It is offered only as possible support for focus and coordination. A clearer receiver matters only when you protect what deserves privacy. The next step is a practical period of silence where you stop the leak, separate signal from noise, and build before you announce. For the next 72 hours, protect the process. This is not a promise that every answer will appear within 3 days. It is a period of observation where you stop feeding the pattern and watch what becomes clearer. On the first day, stop the leak. Do not share the new plan. Do not explain an old decision again. Do not post a hidden message online, hoping one person will notice. Keep the energy close. Each time you feel the urge to tell someone, write down the name. Then write the feeling beneath the urge. Maybe you want reassurance. Maybe you want praise. Maybe you want someone else to carry the uncertainty. Do not judge yourself. Just notice the pattern. The urge to speak is often an attempt to escape discomfort. When you can name the discomfort, it loses some of its power. On the second day, separate signal from noise. Divide a page into 3 sections. Write what you know. Write what you fear. Then, write the next, small, action. Facts are what already happened. Fear is what your mind predicts. Keep them separate, because a prediction can feel powerful without becoming true. Do not use a strong feeling as your only evidence. Do not treat temporary peace as a guarantee. Clarity is not knowing the whole future. It is seeing one responsible step clearly enough to take it. On the third day, build before you speak. Complete one visible action. Make the call. Prepare the page. Submit the form. Learn the requirement. Create evidence that the plan has entered reality. Do not announce the action. Let it belong to you first. A private step strengthens conviction because your confidence begins resting on movement, not reaction. Someone may ask what has changed. You can say, I am focusing on a few things privately. If they press for details, say, I will speak about it when it is ready. If they say you seem different, answer calmly, I have changed, and I am allowing that change to become clear before I explain it. You do not owe a speech after that. If someone close becomes worried, offer necessary reassurance. Say, I am safe. I am simply giving myself room to think. Privacy does not require cruelty. Write this in the comments. I will build before I announce. These 72 hours are not about disappearing from life. They are about ending unnecessary access. You can meet your responsibilities, answer practical questions, and still protect what is unfinished. Notice what returns when the noise decreases. Your body may soften. The decision may feel simpler. You may recognize that one fear belonged to someone else, while one quiet instruction has remained consistent. The 8-minute support tool mentioned earlier is linked below for those who want to examine it for themselves. Read the information carefully and make your own decision. Then return to the real work. Build one more piece. Keep one more promise. Let the silence become productive, not passive. There is still one final question. How will you know when silence has completed its purpose? How will you know when speaking is no longer leakage, but service? The answer will change how you use your voice. Silence is not meant to become your permanent hiding place. It has a purpose. It protects what is forming until your words can serve the work instead of replacing it. The first sign that you are ready to speak is simple. You no longer need agreement. You can share the decision without watching every face for permission. Someone may question the timing. Their reaction does not pull you away from what you have tested, built, and understood. You can listen without surrendering your authority. The second sign is action. Your words now have something beneath them. You have completed a step. You have created structure. You are describing work that exists, not using speech to imitate progress. The third sign is purpose. You speak because someone needs practical information, coordination, or a clear decision. The fourth sign is restraint. You share what is necessary without revealing everything. This is the final answer to the question opened at the beginning. What was God protecting through your silence? It was not only the plan. He was protecting your ability to form conviction without an audience. He was protecting the energy required to turn insight into action. He was protecting an identity that no longer needs approval to feel real. He was protecting a mind learning to become coordinated again, and the responsibility placed in your hands. Imagine entering a room without announcing who you are becoming. You do not describe each future move. You do not scan the room for approval. You answer questions calmly, then return to the work. When results appear, your words no longer ask for permission. They describe what silence gave you the strength to build. In plain language, the pattern is clear. Speaking too early invites more voices into a decision. More voices can weaken clarity. Fewer inputs, stronger boundaries, and small actions can restore authority. A support tool may help focus, but it cannot replace judgment. Silence should not become permanent isolation. The goal is a clean voice used at the right time. Write this in the comments. My silence is protecting something sacred. Chosen one, may your silence no longer feel like emptiness. May it become a shelter around everything learning how to stand. May you stop explaining what has not finished becoming. May you release the need to make people understand a path they were never assigned to walk. May every borrowed voice lose its authority inside you. May fear return to its proper size. May clarity become simple again. May your yes become clean. May your no become peaceful. May your next step become more important than your next announcement. What is sacred does not need to be displayed to be real. What is growing does not need to be defended to be alive. What God is forming in private does not require public permission. You will speak when your words can serve the work. Until then, you will build, you will listen, you will protect. Subscribe for the next message about moving out of mental fog. Share this with one person who keeps explaining what should be protected. Then write your final declaration. I no longer need permission. God did not ask you to close your mouth because your voice has no power. He asked you to become silent because your voice has too much power to spend before the work is ready.